Hey everyone, sorry I couldn't make it today. We had a quick doctor's visit pop up, so I wanted to do a couple small things with you real quick that will allow us to stay on track and you still pick up everything that we were supposed to learn today. Let's start with starter. So the starter here, you had a better looking picture on your Google Drive, but if you look at the whiteboard over to your right here, you're going to see four different angle relationships. So when you look and you look for one like this one, see if I can get that focused in for you, and you look for one like this one, you're going to see that you're looking at a complementary angle relationship. So that means that these two add to 90. So I could write it algebraically: x plus 73 equals 90, and then solve. That's a little more than what most people do. Most people would just subtract 90 minus 73. But I'm going to go ahead and solve it algebraically here. And that gets me x equals 17. Okay. Now, a calculator is going to be handy today. Feel free to grab one off of the whiteboard there and make sure you've got it and you put it back at the end of class. If you look at the next question, you again look at that angle relationships over on the right side of the room on the whiteboard, and you'll see that this one's supplementary. That means that these two angles add to 180. So you're going to do x plus 52 equals 180 minus 52 minus 52. That gets me x equals 128. So hopefully you got those just by looking at the angle relationships. I know that some of you all are going to feel this is a really new, and normally we would go over older stuff, but with not having any kind of leeway in time and to throw something together, we're going to jump right into what we're supposed to do today. There's your starter. If you all want to take 5 minutes to work throughout your homework, we'll answer any questions. Just know the bottom two rows are going to be extremely tough this week. The rest of these should be somewhere in your wheelhouse. So if you look at the fourth row, that's going to be the angle relationships that are on the board. This is from the last stuff we just learned. And then the bottom two should be somewhat unfamiliar. But if you want to take 5 minutes on that, you can pause this video and go ahead and knock that out. All right. Hopefully you got your 5 minutes on homework. We're going to run through notes real quick. Normally we would do these on slides, so you're just going to have to bear with me. If the adult in the room needs to pause the video at any point to make sure everybody's good to go, feel free to do that. All right. So right at the top of the notes, these will go pretty quickly today. It says angles are formed when two lines intersect. So normally I would want you to get an angle ruler or a protractor out to measure these angles. We're going to go ahead. I'm just going to give you the measure for angle A. So if this is 50 degrees, what do you think this one would be? I want you to think real hard. These make a straight line. And if I cover up the bottom here like this, that looks an awful lot like supplementary, like on the board. So these two angles should add to 180. Now, if that's the case, that would make this 130 degrees. And we could work our way around using straight lines and supplementary angles to fill this out. Now, my favorite thing to do is use vertical angles. Now, vertical angles, if you look on the right at that whiteboard, you'll see that it says angle F and angle H are equal to one another, just like angle B and angle D are also equal because they are opposite and equal and they share a vertex here. And that's the only thing they share. So this one's going to be 130 degrees because it's opposite and equal, and this one's going to be 50 degrees because it's opposite and equal. So angle B is 130 degrees, angle C is 50 degrees, angle D is 130 degrees. So what do you notice about the angle measures? Well, like angle A and angle B together make 180. And then you also notice like angle A and angle C are equal. In geometry, we might use the word congruent. What do you notice about the sum of all the four angles? If we were to add all these up, what would be your first guess? Like let's say we're facing this way. Let's say we're a person and we're facing this way and we jump and we go all the way around. What would that, like we would call that like a full spin? What's another word that might, like if you're a skateboarder, you probably are already thinking this number. It's a 360 degree turn. So that's 360 degrees when you add all those up. We're going to jump right down here. We're going to finish this left side pretty quickly. Vertical angles. Vertical angles are pairs of opposite angles formed by intersecting lines. For example, above, I would look at like angle B and D are opposite angles, so that would be vertical, and angle A and C would be vertical. The relationship between these two angles, B and D and A and C, are that they're congruent to one another or equal. Okay. Looking at adjacent angles, that's just two angles that share a common side. So they just need to be side by side. It could be, and you'll look on the whiteboard. My example on the whiteboard, they are not supplementary, but in this case they are. Common vertex. So any side by side angles, they're adjacent. So I could say angle A and D share a side. They share this side right here. Okay. Another one that would be side by side, A and B are adjacent. Now, those don't necessarily have a relationship, but in this case, they are supplementary. Supplementary. All right. That'd be a good time to pause the video, make sure everybody's caught up. All right. Down below, you have these two examples here. If you'll look, x is opposite of 148. And if we use what we just learned, if they're opposite, they are also equal. That would make x 148 degrees. And then the angle pair that we're talking about is vertical. Okay, and then looking at this one, these are not opposite and equal. They make a straight line. So we're looking at supplementary. So supplementary or adjacent. And these two add to 180. So I could use algebra to figure that out, or I could just simply do 180 minus 35. Calculator is going to come in handy today. So I think that gets you 145 degrees. 145. And we are good. Now let's jump to the second page of notes real quick. I know it's a lot today to be soaking in, but some of this stuff should be somewhat familiar, especially from this page. All right. Angles can be named many ways based on their characteristics. So if we're looking here, we need to find the measure of CFE. So just trace that, start at C. We're going to go down here, and we're going to go over to E. Okay, so looking at CFE, we have to decide, is that 80 or 100 degrees, because they're both listed there. And I guess what you need to be thinking about, is this an acute angle or is this an obtuse angle? Is this smaller than 90 or bigger than 90? So when I look at it, here's 90 degrees right here, right? So if this is 90, that looks like it's smaller. So I would go with the 80 degree measure over the 100 degree measure. So in this case, it's 80 degrees. Now looking at angle AFC, let's try that one. So here's C again. We're going to come down here. We're going to go to F, and then we're going to come over to A. If we look at just specifically this angle from AFC, we're looking at an angle measure bigger than 90. So that's going to be 100 degrees. See how you can have a line going through the same spot, but depending on where it is in your protractor, it's going to determine which measure to use. This bottom should the first 3 or 4 should be 6th grade review. An acute angle is any angle that measures less than 90. An example here would be, I'm just going to draw one real quick. Anything less than 90 would be good. So acute means small. Angle DFE would be one example from above. Obtuse angles are an angle that measures between 90 and 180 degrees. So that'd be one of your bigger, wider angles, right? So obtuse means larger. Okay, an example of that would be, for example, we just did one, AFC. AFC would be an obtuse because it's bigger than 90, right? So angle AFC or CFA. Okay, right angle is an angle measure that measures exactly 90 degrees, exactly 90. So it's going to look like this, normally indicated with a little box in there. If I were to look here, there's no letter up here that shows it going through. But believe it or not, angle BFD is 90 degrees, because if I do 60 degrees minus 150, you get 90. So what I was saying here is you got 150 here, you've got 60 here. If you subtract those two, you get 90. Straight angle makes a straight line. So you're going to have this here. And that's angle AFE from above. And if you look here, that makes a straight line. Straight angle, straight line. Almost self-explanatory here. That's an angle that measures exactly 180. And then complementary angles and supplementary angles are the next set of relationships that we've got here. So complementary angles is a pair of angles that have a sum of 90 degrees. That's normally when you have like a right angle like this with a box, and then they split it. So like angle A and angle B, A plus B equals 90, because those two together make the 90 degree angle. And then supplementary is the exact same thing, except for instead of making a 90 degree angle, it makes a 180 degree angle. So we've got this here, and we've got C and D. That would be C plus D must be equal to 180, because it makes a straight line. Sorry for my poor drawing here. A pair of angles that have a sum of 180. And that's it for notes for the week, guys. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be diving a little deeper into how we can not just identify these angle relationships, not just how we can use these angle relationships to find missing angles, but how can we use algebra to find values of x using these angle relationships. So good thing to hear is that we're not using algebra today. We are going to simply find missing angles using these two or three angle relationships. So the big ones that I want you to take home today: complementary must add to 90, supplementary must add to 180, and vertical, opposite, and equal. Those are the three big ones that I want you to just kind of hit home today. Let's jump to the next page that we've got here. Let me grab a sheet that does not have writing on it. And I'm going to do 3 examples. All right. So I'm going to start with, let's go to the second one here. You should be able to use your notes for these two. Okay, so complementary, the angle measures should add up to what? Supplementary should add to what? When it says a complement, for example, I'll go ahead and do number 1 and number 3. A complementary, the sum of the two angles adds to 90. So a complement of 30, what adds to 30 to make 90? Well, that'd be 60. It'd just be 60. All right, let's do 3 quick ones. All right, we're going to do the second one. We're going to do the fourth one. And then lastly, I'm going to let you all run as soon as I'm done with the last one. It's a doozy. All right, here we go. So this one makes a straight line. So that's going to be supplementary. So that means they must add to, think back to your notes here. They're going to add to 180. So I could write that algebraically. I'm just going to simply subtract 180 minus 73. That gets me 107. So that must be the angle measure for 6. Now, when you're working through this, I think it's important that it gets confusing, because see that 6, that's not the angle measure. That is, I mean, obviously this is bigger than 90, right? So 6 couldn't be the angle measure. That's just angle 6. So we are finding the measure for angle 6. So if we're doing the puzzle real quick, let me scoot this back. 107 is S. So we're going to put an S on number 6. S, and this one's actually a decently goofy puzzle, so I want you to try it today. All right, let's try the next one. There are 3 different angles to find. I need to find 10, 11, and 12's angle measures, but I know that 65 is here, so this is the most important piece of information we've got. So let's start with 11. So I right away, I'm saying, oh, this one's 65, opposite and equal. Okay. And then I'm actually going to fold my paper just a little bit to cover up part of this. This makes supplementary because it makes a straight line just like this one did, right? So these two must add to 180. So what plus 65 gets me to 180? So I'm thinking, oh, I'm just going to subtract that. 180 minus 65 should get me 115 degrees. All right. So we're almost home free. We've got one more angle to go, and it's angle 12. I don't know that one yet. But just like I figured this one out using vertical angles, opposite and equal, I can find these two. So this one's going to be 115 as well because it is opposite and equal. All right, last example here. Should we do the puzzle real quick? 115 on here is E. We're going to put E on 10 and 12. So E on 10, E on 12. And then 65 is U. So we need to put a U on 11. U over here on 11. All right, let me zoom in here because we're going to want to concentrate on this one. So I have this piece of information. I also know that this one is 90 degrees, and I know that because the box here. So this one gets a little tricky. Again, a little paper folding might help a little bit. So if I go right here and I fold this paper, you can see that these are supplementary. They make a straight line. Now, is it up and down instead of side to side? Sure. But that doesn't change anything. So I know that 120 degrees plus angle 20 must make 180. So this one must be 60 degrees. And I know that because 180 minus 120 equals 60. So 60 degrees here. Okay, let's open that back up. Now, if I go down here, this is opposite and equal again. All right, so that's going to be 60 degrees as well using vertical angles. Now we only have one more left, so that's not too bad. Now you can look at this a lot of different ways. There's a lot of ways you can solve this. I could make these adjacent angles add up to 180 here. That's not how I did it though. You could cover this one up and make these add to 180. That is how I did it. But let's go ahead and cover it a different way here. Let's do it. Let's go back to that first method. Okay, so if this is 60 degrees and this is 90 degrees, what must this be to make a straight line? So straight line, we wouldn't call this supplementary because it's three angles, but it's the same setup. You have to do 180 minus the sum of these two, so that'd be 150, because 90 plus 60 is 150, and that leaves us with 30 degrees here. Now, just to check, 60 plus 30 is 90, plus 90 is 180. We know we did that right. All right, we are almost home free. Let's do the puzzle on these three, and then I'm going to send you off to work on the rest of this sheet on your own. All right, so angle 20 is 60, 60 is R, so let's put R on 20. R on 20. 21 is 30 degrees, Q. Q goes on 21, 21, Q. 22 is 60, 60 is R, R goes on 22, R here, and we are on our way to figuring out our puzzle. If you have any questions, just kind of put a circle around it. I'll be back in tomorrow, hopefully, to help you out. Thank you, guys.